last week we talked about different positions and national rankings, SEC rankings. Here's the trivia question. Which two SEC quarterbacks are in the top 10 nationally as far as passing yards?
Okay.
Two of them. Cue
I
the
th-
Jeopardy music.
and I think I can guess one. I think Jaden Daniels. Is that correct?
That's incorrect. You need to phrase your
Oh,
answer in the form of a question.
that's right. Who is Jaden Daniels? My apologies.
You are correct. 2,573 yards passing, and he didn't play
Wow.
last Saturday. They had a bye week, but he comes in at number 4 nationally.
Mm.
Who's the other one? Do, 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 do,
I mean,
do,
your
do,
smart money would want to say
do, do,
the
do,
Tennessee
do,
quarterback,
do,
but not
do,
this
do,
year.
do,
So I'm kind of drawing
do,
a blank.
do, 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 do. Like that a
Dome,
cappella
dome.
rendition?
Yeah, that was well done. I added your dome, dome at the end for you there.
Yeah, yeah. We basically just let everybody know we grew up in the Church of Christ because we were actually doing the Jeopardy theme song a cappella.
Acapella without beatbox. We wanted to make sure we
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Carson Beck from Georgia coming in at number 9,
Really?
2,462 yards. This guy is flying under the radar.
Yeah.
We've already learned from last week that Georgia is for real, and now Carson Beck is playing at an elite level. He's in the top 10 nationally. So
Wow.
incredible performance up to date so far for him. And that's great news for Georgia. Georgia was missing Brock Bowers, and they just
Yeah.
absolutely throttled Florida.
Yeah. And like you said though, the amazing thing is you talk about under the radar. He's about as under the radar, and I guess maybe that's because of the amount of the stars. If you talk about Georgia, you talk about Brock Bowers, you talk about so Ra Thomas, whoever. So maybe that's part of what's helped him or created the kind of the under the radar thing. But boy, I tell you what, to fly under the radar, that's a pretty incredible flight under the radar to be in the top 10
Mhm.
nationally.
My second takeaway is another trivia question.
Okay.
Which SEC running backs are in the top 10 nationally in terms of rushing yards?
Hmm. Well, it's a hard year for that because you don't have Tennessee, you don't have Alabama, even though Tennessee's running back room just looked a little bit better. Auburn doesn't really have anything. Uh, I would guess it would have to be, I'm blank on the name, but the running back from Missouri would be the first one that popped into my head.
Close. The actual answer is 0.
Really?
The highest ranked SEC running back is number 14 nationally. That's Ray Davis from Kentucky, 823 yards. We talked last week about Cody Schrader, who
Yes.
was in the top 10, but Missouri had a bye last Saturday. He didn't play. He slipped down to 15th nationally with 807 yards. So that kind of shocked me, Darren. In a
Yeah.
league that's known for its running backs, not a single running back in the top 10 nationally.
I wonder what Paul Bear Bryant would have to say about that.
Mm-mm-mm.
I don't think he would be impressed. Do you?
Everybody together on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Run the ball.
Ball.
As another trivia question.
Okay.
Which SEC wide receivers are in the top 10 as far as receiving yards?
Hmm. Now that's a difficult one. I don't know that I don't honestly, I don't know that I have any that jump out at me immediately. Are there
The
any?
SEC, yes, there are two. The SEC has the number 1 receiver in college football in terms of
Really?
receiving yards. Malik Neighbors from LSU with 981 yards.
Wow.
And again, he was on a bye last week,
And he held on
and
to
he's
number
still
one.
still number 1.
Wow.
Number 5 is Luther Burden of Missouri, 905 yards. Luther Burden was on a bye last week as well.
Wow.
Now, I want to make this point because I've heard from some Big Ten folks who are starting to clamor that Ohio State receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. should be in the Heisman conversation. Marvin Harrison Jr. is ranked 6th in receiving yards in the country. Both Neighbors and Burden are ahead of him. Now, look, I agree, support your favorite player. Look, I'm an LSU fan, but I'm not going to be. You don't hear me saying Malik Neighbors should be in the Heisman conversation. So let's just dial down on Harrison
Hmm.
being in the Heisman conversation. I know the media is going to run with this and they're going to
Oh
be,
yeah.
oh, look, this is great. But He's 6th overall in receiving. He's not playing in the top conference in the country. So let's just dial that down a little bit. So I thought it was interesting, though, on another note, Darren, that the SEC, no running backs in the top 10, but 2 wide receivers in the top 10. This isn't your granddaddy's SEC.
No, no. And I also think it's very interesting to note what you pointed out with both of those wide receivers, that they are at number 1 and number 5 and had a week off. So, that's, to me, that shows the level of dominance that they're showing at their position, that they maintain those positions with the week off. Because with the running backs, like you talked about, any of them that had a week off lost their spot, dropped out of the top 10.
Mhm.
But with the receivers, they've been so dominant. Not the case. They're still hanging on to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this week, Ohio State, who do they play? Rutgers. They played
Yeah.
last week. They played Wisconsin. Where are they ranked? What's Rutgers ranked? This week, Missouri is going to Georgia,
Yep.
number 1 team in the country. LSU is going to Tuscaloosa to play the 8th ranked team in the country. These
Exactly.
receivers are playing up against top 10 talent. And
Exactly.
right now, Harrison is not and will not until they play Michigan.
That's right. That's exactly right. Great point.